Hello, my name is Buddy Childress, and I'm Executive Director of Needles Eye Ministries. We are really happy to have you with us today for a monthly speaker series. We hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Matt Fisher, and at the ripe age of 35, I had a major heart attack. Did you know that when you are going in for a catheterization or a stent, they don't knock you out completely? What they do is they put you in this state that is in be kind of, they could have a conversation with you. And a friend of mine who sells stents said to me, he says they do this because they might want to ask you to cough. And I said, why would they have you to cough? And he said, well, if there's like a little air bubble in your that gets in your bloodstream, before it gets to the brain, they'll have you cough so it'll kind of clear itself out without kind of putting the paddles on you. Excellent. So I was on the table, and the doctor was going ahead and cathing me, and I felt myself kind of coming through. And so sometimes when they knock you out, like through, not knock you out through the state, but have you in this state, you sometimes remember and sometimes you don't. But I was kind of coming through, and I could feel this tugging. And I was like, man, and my first thought is about all those people who have operations, and they could kind of feel it and live it and stuff like that, and they talk about that. And I was like, I wonder if this is happening to me. And so I said, doctor, just to let you know, I could feel that. And he comes over to me, and he grabs my head, and he gets really close to me, and he says, Mr. Fisher, don't worry, we're almost through. It's like, okay. Well, everything went okay, and the next day the doctor comes around and he does his, he comes around and he talks to you, and he does his rounds, and he asks you, do you have any other questions? And I said, I do have a question. I remember when you were stenting me or cathing me, I don't know where we were at in the process, but I remember kind of coming through. He goes, oh, yes. I've been doing this for like 15 years, and every time, I either hit that clot, and it usually just breaks up right away 1 or 2 times, and it just breaks away, and then we can go ahead and put the stent in. And I said, yeah, and he goes, we were working on it for 15 minutes, and we were just seconds away from calling in the bypass team. Now that's serious. A heart attack is serious. And I needed to make some changes. And the nutritionist came, got my drugs, got my exercise regime, and I made some changes in my life. Because really, I want to walk my daughters down the aisle. And in order to kind of get an understanding of my story, we need to kind of back up a little bit and kind of get a picture. Because I just had come off a great successful run with FedEx Kinko's. I was a district manager in Southern Virginia. I'd cover everything Fredericksburg South. And I was a #1 district manager for 2 years in a row. Great success, had a great team. And FedEx ended up buying Kinko's. And all the options that we got, performance-based options, all became fully vested right overnight. And Kristen and I's financial situation changed dramatically just overnight. And we kind of were like trying to make a decision. What do we do with that? And I wish I had a perspective of this passage where the rich man comes to Jesus and he says, hey, Jesus, what do I need to do in order to go to the kingdom of heaven? And he said, well, first you need to obey the commandments. And he's like, check. And he says, now you've done those things. You need to sell everything and come follow me. Be reliant on me. And he was very wealthy, and he went away sad. In the verse, in the passage, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he says, I tell you the truth, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So during this time, I had great success. I I had these riches bestowed on me. And I didn't have that as in perspective because I said, okay, Kristen, what should we go ahead and do? Yeah, I went to the Bible and I asked my dad for advice. I did some of those things, but it was our plan. It was my plan. And one of the things I always wanted to do was start my own business. So I said, let's go ahead and start a business. My wife supported me. She didn't say overnight. I wouldn't say she jumped in there, but she's a little bit more cautious. Thank God for that. And so we went and we started a business called Handyman Matters in the Richmond area. And we were going along. It's tough being a small business owner. And we had some success through a lot of hard work. And we also had some disappointments and setbacks. And really, when I even had this heart attack, I really didn't have a clue what was going on and what God was trying to teach me. But I started to get a clue one time when my brother Mark called me. He called me up, and he lives up in Sandy Cove, and he said, hey, Matt, how's it going? And I said, well, I just finished payroll. And, I'm going over, and I'll tell you. And he goes, finishing payroll, oh, this sounds pretty ugly. And I said, yeah, it's really bad when you're thinking about not just making this week's payroll, but the next payroll run as well. He goes, yeah, it sounds bad. And he goes, what are you doing right now? I go, well, I'm going out to this customer. The receivables are high. I need some sales. It's not a perfect fit, but I need the business. He goes, man, it sounds like you're going through a lot right now. And I said, yeah, I am. And he goes, I can hear the pain in your voice. But Matt, remember this. Jesus doesn't put you in this situation for no reason. He's on your side. He loves you. There's something he's trying to teach you. And I remember when he said that to me, I don't know what my response to him was, but in my head, I go, yeah, he's teaching me pain. And it was tough. Now, I didn't have any kind of changes in my life after that conversation, but I remembered that conversation over the next year. And Kristen and I had made some decisions, and I think you got to do this as a businessman and a businesswoman and a couple that own a business together. We had to make a decision on when we were going to go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to go back into corporate America. We can't hit certain measurements in our business. And so we did that, and that time frame came, and the time frame came to make that hard decision, and we made that hard decision to go ahead and start thinking about getting Matt back into a place where he can earn a steady income that can provide for his family. And I asked one of my friends, and I told him my situation. I asked him what his advice was, and he said, hey, you know what? I think that we have something for you. So I want to talk to you about it. It's going ahead and working in London to run the European operations for FedEx Kinko's. I was like, wow, one dream closed, but here's another dream of living in Europe where we have some family, we love to travel, and our kids were going to be able to experience this. And we were very excited about it. And I took them up on that opportunity. It was a great opportunity. And so I was dedicated. I was like, okay, God, you know what? I'm going to make sure I am focused on what you want in my life. I am going to be just focused. I got this plan. As a matter of fact, I was so geared up that when I landed at 6 o'clock, I went out before